Dímelo, mi gente, Marcucci here again with another video. And today it is with great excitement that I bring to the people of New York one of the two of the OGs. I would say their resumes are super extensive. They have been in New York for years, helping people in small communities like us. So without further ado, this is James Sanders Jr. and Clyde Vanel. James is the member of the New York State Senate, serving since January 2013. He represents the 10th district from Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, Jamaica, Far Rockaway, and Rosedale. We have Clyde Vanel. He's an intellectual property attorney, entrepreneur, serving the assembly member of the 33rd District of the New York State Assembly. He's also a pilot, which I found extremely impressive. He founded the chapter for Black pilots in America here in New York. So thank you guys for being here.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us, Marco.
Thank you. So, how do you guys both get into crypto and blockchain and everything that's happening? New York is a financial capital district of the world, and I believe you guys want to maintain it that way. So, how do you both get into this?
Well, I yield to you, Clyde, and I'll let you hit it first.
Well, first, what's interesting is Marco, right now you have the chair of the Committee on Banks in the Senate with Senator James Sanders, and the chair on the Committee on Banks in the Assembly in myself. Actually, I'll start with crypto and crypto policy from more than 10 years ago. In 2014, I actually worked for Senator James Sanders, and at that time, this was before your time, Marco. I know you're much younger than I am. At that time, there was a platform called Mt. Gox that a lot of people got their Bitcoin taken away from them. And that site crashed. It was a site. I think it was out of Japan at the time, and I was working for Senator Sanders in 2013, 2014, and I said. And I told him that there was a problem with, people losing their Bitcoin. And, Senator Sanders is like, let's find out who we can get on the phone. And there was no one to get on the phone. There was nobody, there's no Bitcoin guy to call. There's no, or what have you. And at that time, we just had a newly formed Department of Financial Services. They were formed maybe 2 years before that, and they were working on something called the Bit license. And that was really early on when it comes to regulation in the crypto world. But I got, interested in crypto really early. I mean, just saw the interest. I was interested in it. I heard about it since maybe 2012, and just got interested in the potential of it and what it's been doing, and it's been growing exponentially ever since.
Perfect. I remember Mt. Gox, and it was not fun. I heard about it about, Bitcoin in like 2016, 2017. And one of the reasons that I really got into it was because of this decentralization and helping creating a new economy, right? And that's what New York is. It's one of the biggest economies in the world. So you guys are starting the S4728, and it's basically to set up a task force to help and study about this impact and blockchain. So why does this matter for everyday New Yorkers?
I'll take a shot. It matters because of the very crisis that we spoke of. Without proper regulations, without proper ways of looking at this, people will fall into traps and they will invest every penny that they own, every penny that they don't own, into scams. And at the end of the day, if all this talk of generational wealth, of trying to move communities forward, that will all go down the drain if there is not some standard that we can use so that business can take place, but at the same time that we can remove the sharks from the waters.
Yeah, and exactly as Senator Sanders stated, and even more globally is, this, cryptocurrency and these digital assets are a tool. And what's really important is to make sure that, how do we properly use that tool? And again, with any tool, there's going to be, there are going to be benefits and there are going to be costs. With any tool, there's going to be abuse, right? So, how do we, but also we want to make sure that, with this tool, with this asset class, we want to make sure that communities like the communities that are watching this, Marco, could be able to benefit from the best parts of it. We want to be able to invest properly and not be outside of investment. One of the things that's really important for the Black and brown communities and for the Latino communities is to make sure that when we talk about wealth, that we are educated on what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one thing that's really important, Marco, is that our people are international. We send value across the seas, and we send and exchange value across the seas. But what's really messed up is that people with less money spend more money to send money.
Yeah.
People with
okay, he's probably coming out to go back in. All right. Welcome to the modern day of technology. His point is so accurate. He was speaking of people with less money having to spend more money to send their very little money. And this is one of the things that cryptocurrency can help address by moving monies very quickly. And our yield, since he is back, I was on your point of the poor pay more, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, so people, folks that are, people that make less pay more to send money. They pay more for money. We pay higher interest rates. We pay higher transactional costs. My mom is from Haiti. My parents are from Haiti. And whenever she sends money and sends stuff over there, the transactional costs are so high, right? And I know with the Latino community, same thing. And what's interesting is, cryptocurrency, reduces the friction of that value transfer. So if we can figure out how to do that properly, that's one of the promises of cryptocurrency, one of the promises of blockchain technology.
Perfect. I really do not want to be you guys because you guys are going to be creating these laws and it's going to be really, really difficult, right? It's a really fine line. So how do you come up with regulation in regards to something like stable coins and Bitcoin? Like what have you guys learned over the years, right? That it can be a happy medium. Like, of course, we don't want these bad actors and, you know, scamming people, right? But what about the ones that have been there for a long time? How can you regulate a meme coin from a stable coin from a layer one blockchain, a layer two blockchain? Or is it all going to be kind of the same?
Marco, let me differ with you and say that it's actually fun. You meet some of the most interesting people that America has, such as yourself, and we get the chance to hear from geniuses from many different fields. And I have found it useful to have the industry people bring in some of the best folk, and this is why Assemblymember Vanel and myself have been calling for a task force, a meeting of some of the best minds on an issue to hammer the issues out and come up with the best way forward. And that is a model that can be useful to the state of New York. But let me underline again, it's a joyful process. It's fun to meet people like yourself.
Yeah, and as Senator Sanders said, one of our approaches is we make sure that we bring in the stakeholders to figure out, how best to address this. But an example, Marco, is that I just introduced a bill that states that if you are going to come out with a coin, if you're going to come out with a meme coin, or you're going to come out with a coin, right? The producers of that coin. And if you cannot sell more than 10% of it within the first 5 years. So part of the issues we were dealing with, we saw a lot of rug pulls. We saw a lot of people creating coins, creating the James Sanders coin, and James Sanders pumps it starts off at 1 penny. He pumps it to $3. He has 3 million coins, and then he pumps it, then sells it, and then boom, then so we said that should not happen, right? So how do we find the worst harm? Why do we find worse harm? We also did something where when it comes to influencers, if people are going to promote a coin or what have you, you should disclose that you're getting paid for it. You should disclose how much you're getting paid. Or you should disclose if you're getting coined for it or what have you. We saw that people get celebrities to, pump a coin and then dump it. So there are, so there are clear lines where we could, and even though when we worked with the industry to be able to try to figure out what the guardrails are, but we have to have relatively flexible guardrails because, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, these things are not, they could be a hybrid model. They could be coins, they could be utility tokens, they could serve as different things. So we got to be able to make sure that our regulations are flexible enough to be able to protect New Yorkers whilst not stifling innovation.
That sounds amazing. So thank you for all your hard work. I think that's what people want. I think people want full disclosure from whoever's promoting a coin, making a coin, everything. Like people would just want transparency. And some are doing it, some are not. So I appreciate you guys doing it. Let's get back into like a little bit about Bitcoin and specifically like Bitcoin mining. One of the big points of your guys' like bill is mining and getting like clarity on that, right? I personally, from my experience, I have friends that have mined crypto here in New York, and Con Edison came knocking to the door like, what are you doing? Like, are you, excuse me, you were spending $200, now 1,000? What happened? So can you talk about like the environmental causes of crypto mining and how you guys want to help that here in New York?
Let me alert you that sadly my conference has been called into session. So this will be my last, but I'll yield to the assembly member first.
So, so we've been dealing with, so one of the things that are that is an issue when it comes to, not just cryptocurrency, but when it comes to industry is the energy footprint that it takes to do stuff. So this is not only crypto. This is not only proof of work. We were talking about, just AI. AI takes a lot of energy, right? The AI takes a lot of energy. Our data processing systems take a lot of energy. But proof of work in particular, yes, it's a lot. It's a big deal, and as a matter of fact, we're still trying to figure that out. The industry is trying to figure it out. The industry is still trying to get more and more efficient. It is exponentially more efficient than it was 5 years ago. The industry is moving in a good direction. I am not one of the folks that are saying, to shut it down, because I find that there is use in Bitcoin. There's use in it, and it was amazing when they came up with it in 2008 to where it is now. To say that proof of work is a beautiful thing because it creates stake in the game. It creates skin in the game for for people that are staking, that are in the process. That's why it's worth something. But we have to consider how to make it more efficient. But that's not specific to Bitcoin only. That's what it's important for us to think about in every field and everything that we do. Sustainability.
As a good environmentalist, the sustainability of a thing becomes very important, and I believe that we can do both. We can mentally chew bubble gum and walk. We can find the right balance. Just the pressure of government has made the business more efficient. Without pressure from the outside, they would have been more wasteful. And by being wasteful, they are also more expensive. So this type of regulation in the long term can drive down the cost of the mining while we are improving the environment. Now, sadly, I must take my leave, but there's no better hands than Assemblymember Clyde Vanel. He not only is a pilot of the skies, he is a pilot, he is the pilot behind this effort, and he doesn't need me as a co-pilot for the moment. Thank you, Mr. Pilot and Mr. Soto.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanders. Good luck.
Thank you.
So thank you for that, Mr. Clyde. I do appreciate it. How do you, obviously, with tech and everything that's happening, what from the bill or from the task force is something that you guys have seen from other states or other countries in terms of regulation that you guys want to implement or take or think is a good idea? For example, the idea that you said disclosure of memes, or if you're disclosing anything, the United Emirates in Dubai actually had something similar to that. Like you can show something, but you have to disclose of it. So what's something else that you guys are kind of looking into?
Many things. So keep in mind when it comes to, so one of the things I have to say is that, we've been looking, I got elected in 2016, started serving in 2017. And, for as long as that time, I've been, working on crypto blockchain related bills. And we have been looking, part of the issue is we've been looking around the world and different states and around the world and the federal government for, best practices. And there was a point where New York was the only thing, right? The bit license was the only thing for a long time. And we work with the federal government also. A lot of places that we do look to is we look, towards FCC. We look at SEC, we look at CTSC, we look at, the federal agencies for ideas about, when it comes to, regulating crypto on the investment type side. Then we look at, regulations for money transmitters when we're talking about trying to address the platforms. So there are different models, and then, and then we look at, we're constantly looking at what's happening around the world, and then trying to figure out, how best to, what to adopt or what not to adopt. But oftentimes, though, we are, over the past couple of years, we have been first in the space to come up with some of these, some of these regulations. But Marco, it's tough. It's tough to make sure, it's tough to figure out, what the proper balance is. And a few years ago, people thought that any regulations were bad. But now that, that has been shifting, and the industry has becoming more mature, understanding that good regulation is good for industry.
I think some of the big players or big people in the industry are coming in, and a lot of people were not, they're not going to invest in crypto if they don't have any security of saying, hey, I'm not, if you put money in, you're not going to get money back, right? I believe, as an intellectual properties like lawyer, right? And helping startups and tech startups, right? Me personally, I've seen startups my whole life. I mean, since I've been alive, right? Startups is like kind of thing since I've been alive. Like you'll say Uber, Amazon, Tesla, stuff like that. They have not been profitable for a long time, right? Even Amazon today, they generate billions of dollars in revenue, only a little bit of net income. And a lot of startups in crypto get scrutinized for that. Oh, you're not making money. Oh, you're just pumping them. Oh, how can we change that idea? How can we change that view of you don't necessarily need to make money now, you're going to make it in the future?
Well, I mean, that's business, right? So, so most businesses, not just the tech businesses, most businesses don't make money in the beginning, right? So you have to be able to weather the storm. And in business, part of it is being able to, to build and grow and then scale. So that, And then when it comes to crypto businesses, it depends, right? But I don't look at it as a different animal than than business and business concepts. Because at the end of the day, whether it's crypto, whether it's some of the companies that you mentioned, who's behind it is really important. And is the concept viable? And I also believe in the market, let the market decide. And if it's a good concept, if it's a good coin, if it's a good crypto piece, if it's a good project, if it's then the market will vote. If not, the market will vote.
Yeah. So some of the biggest companies in crypto, are here in New York. There's one specifically that I am following with close eye. It's called Ono Finance, and they're basically tokenizing real world assets and bringing, uh, all these different like yields and bonds on chain, right? Um, how do you see, Wall Street changing in a couple of years? Do you see it changing? Do you see it staying similar? How are they gonna kind of work together?
Well, Marco, the traditional finance has changed, has adjusted over the past. I've seen it. I mean, it's been happening. There was a point where Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan said, crypto is nothing. It's crap. You would never invest in it. That was in 2016, 2017 maybe. The next year the next year they had crypto divisions and what happened, right? So also keep in mind too, market decides, right? So traditional finance, Wall Street or what have you, there was a point where they were like, even the state, New York State was like, oh no, we're not messing with crypto or we're not even talking about it or what have you. But when the investors, when the consumers, when the people are like, hey, I'm not diversified, I'm not in crypto, they had to change. So I don't, did they change or did the people change them? Again, so in this, folks have started adopting crypto more, maybe the younger people and younger folks in finance, and then and then traditional finance has followed. I don't know any big investment bank that doesn't diversify in crypto. I'm not sure of any big major funds that don't have, that don't diversify in new digital assets and these new technologies. So that has changed. It's already changed. It's already shifting. Now, how much more will it change? I don't know, but it's already happening. And we're at a point where, remember, they're talking about, on the federal government about having some type of, Bitcoin reserve. Is it real? Is it not real? I don't know, but that's light years away from, hey, is Wall Street going to accept it? Is Wall Street going to change? No, it already has.
Yeah. Is New York considering one?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think New York is, I don't think New York should at this point. No, I don't think so. But, keep in mind, we're a space where we're considering what we're doing in the industry and how do we attract more of the future of finance to New York? And how do we make sure that, the companies big and small in this industry want to have a footprint or want to make sure that they have a flag in New York.
yeah, I 100% agree. So, if New York becomes the hub of blockchain innovation, what role do you see for small businesses and entrepreneurs in your community, like Cambria Heights and Albans, like Hollins? How can those businesses benefit? Me personally, as a small business owner in New York, I tried to get, stablecoin acceptance and people pay with stablecoins or crypto, but it's really hard to get an initiative like that. So as the industry grows older, how do you see, these new innovations helping out our sector?
So back in, again, I have a video on YouTube where from, almost, about 7, 8 years ago, I wanted to buy a slice of pizza with Bitcoin. And I traveled all around New York to try to find a merchant that accepts Bitcoin. This was 7 years ago. Found a place in Brooklyn, went there, and I'm not gonna say the end of the story. You got to go watch the video to see what happens. But part of the challenge, Marco, is not just regulatory, right? So part of the challenge is cultural and what's happening in society, right? So I could, regulations can make stuff safer and provide the guardrails, but I can't force you to spend, the crypto somewhere. I can't force a merchant to accept the thing somewhere. Then forget about that. How do, I can't, when is the purchaser going to be comfortable exchanging that? When is the merchant going to be comfortable accepting it? What is that exchange, and what is going to happen over time, right? So eventually, the word stable coin is a new word. We didn't have that word in 2019, right? What is that, right? That's a new thing, right? The word. So and then digitizing and tokenizing a lot of these things. It's we're that has been in place where we use a form of something to represent something else, coupons, and that's digitizing, right? That's, well, not digitizing, but that's using a symbol for something else. But eventually, Marco, when are we going to have deep market penetration for crypto? Now we talk about crypto, but it's not really currency yet. Currency is when people are exchanging it on a large basis. And a lot of things have to happen at that point. Some of the things that have to happen is the infrastructure has to get better. The infrastructure has improved by leaps and bounds over, every year to be able, how fast it could exchange and how it could be, and being able to have, wallets and being able to exchange it together and being able to. So there are a lot of things that have to happen before that there's this large mass exception. But don't feel bad, Marco. Crypto is still a baby compared to the dollar, right? It's we're only talking about, it's not even 20 years old yet. So it's like it's still, and it's growing by leaps and bounds.
No, 100%. And I agree with you. I mean, Bitcoin has grown tremendously over years, but for example, if you take some Bitcoin as a merchant, you might have to wait an hour, 2 hours instead of like a credit card, which is like, instant. I mean, you could say it's instant, right? It takes, a couple of days to transact, to clear, but you see it right there, right? With Bitcoin, even though it's instant and secure, you know, it takes 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever time it be, how congested the system is. So I agree with you. It's gonna change, and obviously, I think the industry is gonna come faster. I mean, you can use the Lightning Network now. I use it. I get it like instantly. You use like Ethereum, Solana, other coins, and it's gonna be much better. But yeah, thank you so much for this. Kind of my last question is the task force is set to not expire, but finish in 2027, right? December is like December 15, 2027. What can you tell people watching this video in 2027? What can you tell the task force will do? What will happen as a consequence of this task force if it passes, right? Because I believe the bill is still like in the House or hasn't reached the Senate, right? Not even the governor or the mayor. So
Yeah, so if it passes, again, part of what we want to do is we hope that this task force can give recommendations to the legislature on what we should be doing, what we should be focusing on a number of different levels. So there are a lot of different things to look at. So there's looking at, one, the industry, right? How are we positioned properly in New York to be able to attract, tomorrow's businesses and tomorrow's jobs in this industry? Another thing to look at is Are we in a space in New York where we can, you know, what our infrastructure, what's our infrastructure like to be able to have this industry thrive in New York? Another thing to look at is investors. Are we properly protecting the consumers and investors in New York State with 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 the worst of what's going on and what's been happening in the industry? Another thing to look at is the environmental impact. Northern New York is a place where we have, favorable hydraulic energy, and we have a number of different mining operations in New York State. Are we properly taking advantage of that? How are we using that? How we, create, in that space. And then for our education wise, are we making sure that we educate New Yorkers on the benefits and harms of, of this? Comes back and gives us recommendations on a whole host, a number of different things. And one thing I talked about was on environmental issues, on investing issues, on whether we're attracting and keeping the industry, or whether or not we're making sure that we are setting up our merchants in a great position, whether or not we're protecting investors. So these are, and to just generally what we should be focused on for regulations.
Perfect. As a New Yorker, I'm super excited and super happy for the future. I think you're going to be doing a great job. Everything that you talked about or said is kind of how I feel about crypto. So I think we're going to be in good hands here in New York. Thank you so much. Tell Mr. Sanders I said thank you for this interview. Hopefully we can stay in touch and keep growing New York and lead New York into being the crypto and blockchain state. That's my idea for everything. So thank you so much.
One thing before I leave is I want to tell Crypto Connection is, first of all, Marco, thank you for bringing this information to the community. One of the issues that we have, and the reason why we are sometimes behind, our communities are behind, is because of lack of knowledge. And the fact that you are bringing this information to the community and you're not making it difficult for people to understand what this is. You don't have to understand what blockchain technology is. People don't understand how the internet works, but they still use the internet, right? They don't understand how their telephone works, but they still use their cell phone. But that is very advanced technology. And cryptocurrency is something that's really important for our people to be able to know about, to be able to understand, to be able to figure out. And what's great is it's still early, so we could be the masters of it because it's early for everybody. And for the Latino community, it's really important for us to be able to lead in this space. So thank you for doing what you're doing, Marco.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. Please make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it so far and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Clyde. Bye-bye.